Okay, so now that we know what the fronts are, and we took a moment to review the fronts and their abilities, as it says right here on the card, we will move to the next part of the quick rules, which says next, all players should draw 5 cards from the top of their draw pile and set their influence dial to 10. All right, so we draw 5 cards. I'm just going to put them on the table here, somewhere in my play area. Obviously, these would go in your hand, but for purposes of demonstration, I will just draw them to the table, and I'll do the same for the my enemy player over there. So yeah, we're just going to draw 5 cards here, and go from there. Okay, these are my 5 cards here, and these are our opponents. Let's go over them really quick. We'll go over here to my hand first, since I have a little more variety in the cards that I have. The first thing you'll probably notice right away with these GOON cards, which is what the most amount of cards you'll have in your deck is that they have a border up here. This top represents the rarity of the card, and therefore how powerful it is. Now, when you build a deck, you can only have 5 red bordered cards, 5 rare cards in your deck. You can only have 8 of the blue cards in your deck, so I got 2 right here. And if you are lucky enough to get a legendary card, the legendaries count as 2 reds. So if you get one of those, that counts as 2 reds, and that kind of goes into how you make your deck. So you get 5 red cards, 5 red border cards, and 8 blue cards, and then the rest have to be the black borders here. So we'll look here at Elaine Zibbler first. She is a rare card, as you can see. Let me bring her up a little closer so we can see the card a little bit. And if you do this, and if you hit Alt while you're in Tabletop Simulator over a card, it'll give you a bigger version of the card. But since I'm zoomed in so far, I don't get much bigger on this one. Anyways, this is the card here, the numbers that you see here. Let me magnify. Bong! There we go. You can see the number up here. That is the number in the series. So this is first series, number 30. Zibbler Elaine. We move down here, we see that it is Elaine Zibbler. That is her name. This is Elaine Zibbler right here, and this art is courtesy of NV Merkin at Fiverr. Thank you for that. And talent, if they have a talent here, this one is considered favored. So goons can have various talents, and we'll go into that as we kind of see them. But she has favored. So what does favored do? Let me go over here to my talents card. Boom, flip this guy over. It's all alphabetical, and right here you'll see favored. A favored will get an ace on a roll of 1 or 2. An ace lets you count the die as a success and re-roll it. It's the exploding dice mechanic, guys. I love this mechanic. So normally, whenever any goon attacks, whether it be attacking regularly or using a talent, you would just roll an amount of 6-sided dice, and if you roll a 1, you flip it up and you get a 1, that is considered an ace. You count it as a success, and you roll it again to see if you can get even more damage. So that's kind of where the exploding dice come in, and if you get another ace, you count it and you roll it again. So even the smallest little goon has a chance of taking out some of the bigger guys out on the field. So it's kind of a neat little mechanic that I like, and hopefully everybody out there will enjoy it as well. So anyways, yeah, so she's favored, so that everybody, they get an ace on a 1. Well, if you're favored, you get an ace on a 1 or a 2. Let's magnify it again, get back in. So yeah, she's favored. Her affiliation is her gang that she's involved in. Zibbler Follies. The gangs kind of come into play just making your deck, basically, if they're the same sort of quirk. So on the next line here, we have the gang's symbol. That's what the little clown face is for the Zibbler Follies. And then next to it is the quirk associated with the gang. So this gang is mainly malevolent. And then also to designate the rarity of the card, there'll be a little icon here If it's rare, it's this red card, and then if it's blue with the an uncommon card, like this card over here, it has kind of this orb symbol. Just a little extra added iconography to help differentiate and hopefully help anybody that might be having like colorblind issues out there to see that what is rare and what is uncommon if they can't see the top border here. And then of course right here is the symbol for just a common card, just a little octagon thing. That's a common card. So yeah, so Elaine Zibbler is a member of the Zibbler Follies. There's her little icon, like I said, the gang icon. The quirk is Malevolent, and where that quirk comes in handy is basically for deck building. Bad guys basically have to team up with bad guys. Good guys have to team up with good guys. Good guys and bad guys can't team up, and that's kind of determined by this little diamond of influence here. If I can show it to you. So the Zibbler Follies is down here in the red. That's where the malevolent beings are. So they can only make decks with any of the colors that are next to them. So they can do these guys, they can do these guys, or they can do these guys, but they cannot work with the neutral guys, because they are way down here on the evil spectrum, and then up here is the good spectrum. Like I said, this won't come into play a whole lot in the game, but it's just a neat little thing to keep in mind. So that's what this little quirk is, and certain cards will affect goons with that quirk. So that's why we have to. That's why that's on there. And also the quirk background color matches the background color of the goons. So as you can see, this is Malevolent with the red border. Even though this guy belongs to a different gang, he belongs to Mayhem, as you can see by the affiliation and their little icon there. They're still Malevolent, so they still have the red background. This guy is ugly, isn't he? And then over here we have one of the cunning folks. So they're a member of the Order of the Sacred Dragon with cunning. So as you can see, the bluish, blue-green, aqua background is cunning. So up here, the red and the blue can go together. So that's where the quirk really comes in handy. And like I said, some cards will mention affecting those types of cards. So that's really all it's there. A little bit of a descriptor. Okay, so next is the stat line for the front. Goons have 4 basic stats. The first one is chance. Chance is basically your fortune, your luck, if you will. For game, mechanized wise, for the mechanism, it means how many 6-sided dice you roll when you try to do something in the game. So in this case, they have a chance of 6 and a combat of 5. The combat stat is the stat that they have to roll under in order to succeed at damaging their opponent. And for every success that they do, they would do their damage. So in this case, she does 2 damage per success. So what this all means is she has 6 chance, which means she rolls 6d6. She has a combat of 5, so she would have to roll under a 5 on these 6-sided dice. And for every dice that rolls under that 5, her combat score, she would do whatever her damage is. So in this case, she would do 2. So if she was attacking somebody, let's just roll the dice really quick. Boom. I am looking for 4, 3, 2s, and 1s on these dice. It looks like I got a 4 and a 1. All these other ones are failures. So this is 2 successes here. So she's already done 4 damage with her attack. But since she rolled an ace, the 1, she counts that as a success and gets to re-roll it to try to do more damage. And she gets a 4, which is also under her comment. So that is 3 successes for 6 damage. So if she was attacking something, she would be doing 6 damage to it. So that's the stat line, guys. That's what the chance combat damage portion of the stat line is. The health, of course, is if they get more wound tokens than their health, then they're sent to the morgue. They die and they're sent to the morgue. So that's what the health is. Moving on the card, let me get back to the magnification area here. The next line of this card is the talent, if they have a talent. So in this case, she did have the favored talent. It's passive. There's basically 4 types of talents in the game. And as you can see on this card here, it'll show you the different types of talents. So there's the standard talent, which can only be used during your action and deploy phase. And then there's the passive talent, which is always active. And then we have an instant talent. If a goon has an instant talent, they can use that on any player's turn, even if it's not their turn. If their goon is not exhausted, and we'll talk about that in a second, they can use this instant ability even to like interrupt what another person is doing. And then finally we have the ranged ability. This is only used during your action and deploy phase. So the same as standard, except it's ranged, which means you can be at any front to use that talent. The other talents require you to be on the same front as your target, but if you're using a ranged talent, they can be on any front. They don't have to be on the same front as your target. So what does all that mean? How do I use a talent? The same way that you would use your attack roll, which I just sort of mentioned. In this case, this guy here has logistics. It's an instant talent. And as you can see by the 4 right here on the talent, they have a talent score of 4 in logistics. The talent score replaces the combat score when you're doing a talent check, basically. So as you can see over here, this guy has a combat score of 5. So for regular combat, he would have to get below a 5. But if he's trying to do his Slayer ability, he just needs to get below a 6. So he's a lot better Slayer than he is a regular combatant. But you still use the same chance. So in the case of a standard talent, in order to use all 5 of these chances at slaying an opponent, you would have to spend 5 influence. And that's kind of where the resource management aspect of the game, comes into play. So in order to do 5, I would need 5 influence in order to get my 5 chances to try to be a Slayer. So what does Slayer do? Since this guy here has a Slayer talent of 6, and the Slayer talents, you'll know for sure that they're a Slayer because they'll have this box here, and this indicates what what quirk of a goon they can slay. So in this case, it's a blue card that can slay yellow cards. The yellow is considered Cavalier. That's their quirk. If they try to slay a Cavalier, they can do their Cavalier ability, which right here you can see, Slayer. It will deal double damage per success, or triple damage if they roll a 1, to enemy goons of the opposing behavior / quirk. Okay, so I got 4 goons in my hand here, VP. What is this card in the middle here, the one that you drew? This is an instant card. Again, you can see it has a blue border all the way around it, letting you know that it is an uncommon card. Again, there's the number in the series right there. This is number 90 in the first series. It is called the Reaping. And instant cards work kind of like the GOONS cards. You spend influence, which is what the symbol is here. I didn't explain that in the GOONS. It's a great how to play video, VP. How am I going to learn how to play if you don't even explain these things? This symbol here is the influence that you have to spend to play the card. So this guy costs 5. My goons here, this one costs 7. This one costs 5. If you pay 5 influence, you can play this instant card, and as the name of the card implies it is instant, which means you can use it even out of your turn. If it's somebody else's turn, you could use this, provided you have the 5 influence to trigger it. But yeah, the Reaping, all enemy goons in play that have at least 1 wound token of any value on them take 5 damage. Defense does not apply. You'll see this quite a bit on the cards. Sometimes defense will apply to attacks and sometimes it won't, so that's just kind of there as a reminder. It's an instant card that does whatever it says. And you would play this to do what it says, and then you would drop it into your morgue over here, spending the card, and go along your happy, merry way. So that is what an instant card is. A VP, you have a card that has the talent Logistics on it. What the heck does Logistics do, and why is there this crazy chart on it? Yes, some talents will have a chart associated with them. So rather than rolling a flat, basically a flat amount of dice to try to succeed, sometimes you need a number of successes in order to succeed, in which case the value on the dice, the actual number on the dice doesn't matter, you just have to succeed. So in this case, Logistics needs a number of successful rolls to succeed against a card of these various types. So if it wanted to use Logistics on a common card, the black border, it would need 1 success. If it needed to use Logistics on an uncommon card, the blue border, it would need 2 successes. And for a rare, it would need 3. And for a legendary, it would need 4. And they can use as many chances as their chance allow for their talents. And again, I have to say that if you use your chance, you have to spend that amount of influence from your influence to use the ability. So, Logistics. What does Logistics do, VP? Well, Logistics is right here. Logistics. Move 1 goon per success to a front of your choice. Add 1 exhaust token to each goon moved in this way. So you can pretty much just move goons around. You want to get them off a front so you can control it? Move them out of the way. That's what Logistics does. Now let's take a look at my opponent's hand here. So he drew all 5 goons. So you can see here, they have the passive talent Bodyguard, and one thing you'll notice on the Bodyguards is that they come with 2 defense. The Bodyguard itself, if we look right here, says that this goon must be attacked first if stationed with a friendly goon. Friendly goons stationed with them are also immune to assassins, drive-bys, snipers, and targeted front/upgrade abilities. Bodyguards have to be attacked first, and they have 2 defense. So just like the fronts that we discussed earlier with a little defense shield, they have 2 defense. So you would add up the symbols on the card to get the total defense that they have. And next to our Jimmy the Nose over there, we have Pretty Face Nelson. He is a muscle. Muscle is another passive talent. Now you'll see in the parentheses here, there is a 3. What does Muscle 3 do? Well, let's look at the talent card. Right here is the talent card. Muscle X. So Muscle 3, whenever they damage a target, they do 3 bonus damage. This bonus damage applies once to an entire attack, not per success. So in this case, let's see, he's got 4 chance with a 4 combat. Let me grab 4 of the die over here. We'll grab these bad boys up here and roll them. And he, in order to succeed at combat, would have to get below his combat score, which is a combat of 4. So he needs a 3, 2, or 1 to succeed. Let's see, he got a 3, a 2, and a 2. So that's 3 successes. And he does 3 damage per success. The dude is mean. So he's already done 9 damage, but since he's muscle, he adds 3 to that damage. So he actually has done 12 damage to whatever he has targeted. And then finally, the last thing I'd like to mention in my opponent's hand, starting hand here, is this ability right here, Soldier. The talent Soldier is not really a talent. It just means that they are a soldier in the Kozlowski family, as opposed to being a muscle for the Kozlowski family. In case you haven't figured it out yet, this is like the file folder. It's on record. Their record at the police department. They have a talent. They're the soldier in the Kozlowski family. This guy's a muscle for the Kozlowski family. But then we go over to my hand over here, and I got a Slayer for the Order of the Sacred Dragon, or they're in logistics for the Zibbler Follies. So that's kind of how the file system works. So if you ever see Soldier, that just means they have no discernible talent whatsoever. They're just a foot soldier in the gang. But that's not always bad, because usually these soldiers are cheaper because they do not have a talent. Therefore, they are cheaper to play, usually.